Welcome to SveNFL.
What's up, y'all?
It's Jonathan Rollins.
Skip me, Sarah.
Two Americans living in Sweden talking about domestic disputes.
Let's go with domestic disputes. Now that's a big difference between domestic disputes and domestic violence.
Yeah, we don't do the violence.
Just to be clear, we don't do the violence part.
We won't do
we be out here disputing things.
We dispute like a motherfucker.
Disputes have been had.
Yep. Both we married women that occasionally say,
"Man, did this dude just did this?"
Sure.
and we say to them,
"This bitch." Thank you. I knew it. I absolutely knew it.
What's wrong with you? We've all been there, man.
Yeah.
And then
he's a habitual line stepper.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know. We were just talking about I'm in a move, and they say it's one of the most stressful things a relationship can endure is moving from one place to another. It's a stressful thing, man. The kids are stressed out. I wish we could have just like left them with somebody for 3 days and let us like. But you could feel it. You know what I mean? Anyway, but the cure, as Skip and I came to the conclusion that what you got to do, just smash that shit out, man.
It's true.
So we did that though, and I felt a little better. And then gotta keep smashing it out. That's our advice.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but we had I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's a game saver.
Yeah.
For in a lot of situations.
Yeah, man. Get the smash out. Yeah.
I'll do it sometimes where I'm like, if we're going through a patch where we kind of we start bickering about little things or whatever. Sometimes I'll just say it out loud. I'll just be like, you know what? I think part of my like just general frustration right now is that it's been too long since you and me fucked. Like. Like,
just say it straight up.
Yeah, and then immediately it kind of changes the mood in the room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. You never know. Sometimes you just get the. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Girl, it's been too long, girl.
Yeah, girl.
Sometimes we gotta just get it on.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes
Sandra says that I'm not the one who says like I think we need to fuck. Sandra says it. She's like, you know what? We need to. She doesn't say fuck, so like shit. Like we need to have some intimate time. Maybe that's what we need.
Right.
I'm never gonna say no.
No.
So, all right, I guess you might be. I'll be like, well, I don't know if that's true, and then
well, let's try it and see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see if you're correct in your assumption.
I don't know. We'll just go one more time, maybe. We'll see if the second one works.
We started off lighthearted or whatever because we know that this is going to be a very heavy subject. Sorry for those of you that I'm late. Like I said, we're moving, so we're going to just release everything. Like if you want to hear about next week's stuff, then that's going to come out next. And then this week's stuff, I had to be late just because I've been in a chaotic moving process. The apartment is lovely, for those of you that are wondering. And I'm excited. And we might have a fantasy champion.
It appears that we do.
Okay.
It's a little confusing.
Right. Let's get right to it. We can say why.
Well, because, obviously because of the Demar Hamlin situation from the Bills, Bengals game being sort of postponed, and at this point we'll dive into it more when we get to that game in the rundown at the end. Yeah. But as of right now, it's still very much a question mark as to when that game or even if that game will be played, which clearly has a ripple effect on the playoffs, the playoff seeding,
as
well as as well as least importantly, in my opinion, it has an effect on fantasy football. Obviously, the championship for the SveNFL, the main league, appears to be decided primarily based on the fact that I don't think either one of the participants in the championship game had any Bills or Bengals in their lineup, as far as I know. So that one is, but in the relegation league, you had Bills and Bengals in those two teams for the championship.
Okay.
So that's a little confusing. Whatever. We'll get to that stuff later, but
yeah.
I think it's kind of, again, like we said before we came on, it's like it's a little weird to know how to even talk about this week, especially knowing what happened. But I guess the goal is to essentially go through all the games as if we normally would.
Yeah.
And then given that the Bills-Bengals game is the last game of the week, we will start to kind of dive into that in a little more detail when we get to that.
Okay.
So, I mean, we could theoretically start with the Georgia Bulldogs being down by 2 touchdowns and coming back to win in the SEC.
I was sweating as I watched the playback.
We could start there.
Yeah.
We don't have to. I mean, it's technically not the NFL.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to mention it. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the fact that we have a chance to go back-to-back national champions at this point. I think really the poignant place to start would be Thursday Night Football between the Cowboys and the Titans. And how they – I mean, this was such a – Cowboys it had to overcome the mighty Tennessee Titans backups for a 27-13 victory. Yeah. The Titans rested 8 starters, 9 if you include Malik Willis, which I guess you have to include him.
This guy looked a little. Oh no, but he was what's his name? Boone. What was his name?
Who?
The guy who started for the Titans.
Joshua Dobbs.
That's what it is. He looked pretty good at the beginning.
Joshua Dobbs, which I don't know if you knew this, but he falls into the category of my man from Alpharetta, Georgia. Let's go. He's been in the league since 2017.
Are we gonna do that? Like every time somebody's from Georgia too? I don't know I don't know the grapefruit etiquette.
I feel like technically it shouldn't be a grapefruit. It should be a peach if we're going to talk about people from Georgia. I feel like a peach would, I don't know, maybe it would fall apart, but yeah, I don't know. I'll jerk off with a peach later and let you know how it goes.
Oh my God. You got to have a rotten peach.
Yeah, ripe. That shit needs to be ripe.
Ripe for the sticking.
But Joshua Dobbs has been in the league since 2017, but this was his first ever start as a quarterback.
Okay.
He was drafted by the Steelers, went to the Jags, back to the Steelers, then to the Browns, Lions, and then Titans. But yeah, I can go ahead and give you a little bit of a heads up regarding Week 18. Apparently, the plan is that the Titans are going to start him for the final game of the season because he was able to.
Yeah, in a few days he just came out. Yeah.
He was able to do a lot of things that Malik Willis is. I mean, how many yards did Malik Willis pass for the last time? He didn't even break 100 yards.
I don't think so. It was like 79 or something like that.
This guy had a lot of incomplete passes. He was 12. Dobbs was 12 for 39 for 232 yards. But 232 yards is probably 200 more yards than you would get out of Malik Willis.
Yeah, he was in the pocket. He was seeing the field. He was seeing it better, definitely, than Malik Willis.
And I know that Jerry Jones, he won't see it this way. But if I'm a Cowboys supporter, I'm a little nervous after this game.
Yeah. They pulled away at the end.
Yeah, Dak was 29 for 41, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns to Dalton Schultz. But he also had those 3 consecutive drives in the first half that resulted in turnovers. First was a fumbled snap and then back-to-back interceptions.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the Titans were only able to manage a field goal off of all of those turnovers, which is, I don't know. I actually have more to say about this in the superlatives when we get to the end. So I'll kind of hold it there. But the fact that the Cowboys needed a second half surge to beat the Titans B team is would have me a little concerned. But that being said, we can move on from this game. But I guess as we go, because we're here trying to figure out where everybody's going to land. Next week, as far as I know, a Cowboys win and an Eagles loss will get Dallas the number 1 seed. Titans v. Jags is a win and end scenario for Week 18. There is still some kind of a weird permutation where the Jags could get a wild card spot if a bunch of other people lose.
Yeah,
but I don't. It's so the scenario is so long. I don't even want to think about it. And also that game, Titans Jags, has been flexed into Saturday night primetime slot. We're gonna have two Saturday night games this week. But yeah. Anyway, we can move on to it's very rare that the Georgia Bulldogs and the Atlanta Falcons win in the same week.
But you got man.
Much less in the same stadium.
There you go, man. That's good, man.
In the same stadium.
Maybe they left a little.
I was hoping that the last time the Bulldogs were there, and that didn't work. Because I think I said this the last time. Magic is not real. Sorry, children. But yeah, let's go Falcons. We rose up and we beat David Blau, the Cardinals' third string quarterback.
He was hanging in there though.
At the precise moment where it doesn't even matter. Younghoe Koo in the clutch, game-winning field goal. In the only game of this weekend that had absolutely no playoff implications. The game was the absolute definition of irrelevant. But we won. So there's that. I don't know what else to say other than, I can say very quickly as a Falcons fan, looking forward to the next season, it's clear that we need a quarterback. I'm not so sure that Ritter is it.
Oh, really?
Maybe he could develop into something. Maybe he's not. But if you have a shot to grab one of these guys in the draft, you grab him. You almost have to. The only real positive note I feel like I can take away from the season is a combination of Drake London, who looks as if he's going to finish in the top 3 in rookie receiving yards.
Yeah, he's looking good. He makes some good catches. He does break tackles.
He's just ahead of my man, former Bulldog George Pickens. So that must be good. Yeah. But even more impressive, I have to say, the biggest surprise of the year has been Tyler Algier. This dude can ball.
Yeah.
And he looks like he's probably going to finish in the top 2 or 3 in rookie rushing, just behind Damian Pierce, who, God, can you imagine if he didn't get hurt?
Man.
This
rookie class was looking good this year.
Yeah, and
of skill players.
And Kenneth K9 Walker III, too.
Yes.
I think he's in the top 3 in rookie rushing too.
Gotta be.
Anyway, these 2 rookies that we have, a couple of great pieces and going into next year with a ton of cap space. So, go build something, Falcons, because it's been a minute since you did that. Yeah, that's all I have to say. That'll be the last time I address it.
We gotta get it. We gotta get a Forrest Gump. That's all I have to say about that.
That's all I was saying about that. Moving on to the Lions and the Bears. Man, 41-10. Lions beat the Bears.
Man, Bears didn't stand a chance.
If you ever wanted to know who would win in a fight between a lion and a bear,
we found out.
We found out. This performance by Justin Fields was everything that we have been saying about this dude. 10 rushes for 132 yards, but only 7 for 21 and 75 yards in the passing game.
33%, man. And it's like, if you listen to the analysts talking about it, they're just like, oh, it's a dynamic player. It's like, what are we doing here, man? 7 completions. The wide receivers got to be like, man, fuck this guy, man.
I mean, the Lions blew the fur off of these Bears at every level. Goff was 21 for 29, 255 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jamal Williams, for Christ's sakes, 144 yards and a touchdown. I think this guy leads the league in touchdowns this year. Insane.
Yeah.
My man DeAndre Swift, former Bulldog, not a big deal, had 78 yards and a touchdown, plus a receiving touchdown.
Yeah, that's when he was. I was like, here we go. I'm waiting on that.
That was hot.
Yeah.
The Lions, in a game that they had to have to keep their playoff hopes alive. I mean, they showed up early and often. The Bears got all of their 10 points in the first quarter, and that was it. And the Lions basically went on to score 34 unanswered points. A lot of people appear to be upset that the Lions-Packers game has been flexed into the Sunday night slot.
Why?
It'll be Sunday. The Lions-Packers game.
Why are people upset about that?
Well, because it's theoretically, as of right now, the Lions-Packers game kind of feels like a win and in scenario, but there's a very real case that by the time this game is played, the Lions might actually already be mathematically eliminated.
Oh, okay.
So way
they
it
go with
shakes,
excitement. Like, that's gonna be a good game. It's not like they're gonna sit everybody, but I guess implications makes it more fun.
I mean, as much as Dan Campbell has already said, we're either playing to get into the playoffs or we're playing to spoil.
Exactly.
We're playing the spoiler role. That being said, if you're smart, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, you're going to play all your best players in the fourth quarter of a game that you know won't get you into the playoffs, knowing that if you knowing that. I think you're right. I actually think that you're right.
The players too. They want to show rivalry too. This is why they do this on the last week. They put rivalry games.
That's a good point. So the way this shakes out in Week 18, the Lions need to win, but they also need a loss from the Commanders and the Seahawks.
Oh, that's 2 teams that'll give you one.
Sure.
The ref's gonna make sure now.
Yeah. So that's that. As far as I know, that's the breakdown of how that would work. I'm actually more upset because I just want to see that game, and it being prime time is going to make it harder to see. But also, I think for us, I think a lot of people over here, especially in Europe, when you look at European soccer, the last game of the season, everybody plays at the same time. Everyone. Because you don't want
you don't want people fucking around.
You don't want anyone to know what's happening in it.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that I realize that might be logistically impossible for the NFL. I don't know.
They want eyes all day. That's what they want.
Correct. You're right about that.
But also, there's also the playoffs, and the thing that I despise about football here is that you could know 3 games out who won the league.
That is annoying.
That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
The relegation battle is usually the most exciting thing about European Football League. It's like, okay, who's up, who's down? That one always seems to come down to the last game of the season.
Imagine if we had both, a playoff and a relegation. Like, come on, NFL, listen to us.
Yeah. Next game, we got Broncos-Chiefs. Chiefs barely pulled this one out, 27-24.
Yeah. I'm missing I'm slow on my soundboard today. My bad.
Barely. This almost turned into a coach fired victory for the Broncos.
You know what? We did, for those of you that know, we do bet, and this was one of our bets, is that they would cover. This was the thinking behind it was, can't say they're gonna win, but the first coach fired bump will give them against this way superior team. It'll get them closer than whatever it was, 12 points or whatever it was. So
this was one of their best games of the year, clearly.
Yeah, man. Russell Wilson was out here running and stuff. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He was out here moving around, and
he was 26 for 38, 222 yards. 1 touchdown pass plus the 2 rushing touchdowns.
You know who's head coach now, right?
No.
It's the guy.
Oh, yeah.
He brought in.
Yeah, the guy who came in to help Hackett with timeouts.
Oh my gosh, that's the head coach. And then one of my favorite things. This was going to be one of my candidates for MVP, but MVP candidate really stood out, and I had to make that person make that MVP what it was. The guys in the offensive skybox. They kept cutting to them. They were turned up. I don't know if you saw that at all.
I did see
they
that.
Were let's fucking go. It's just like, yeah. oh my god. That was great. Those dudes were ready to go.
Yeah. It's a very interesting situation for that team, which we can have a conversation about that a bit late, in another episode, especially regarding how when the coaching carousel kind of heats up and we start to figure out or speculate. Everyone's already starting to speculate as to who's going to wind up here. Mm-hmm. And there are some interesting details to the situation which might make it difficult for them to get a coach. But I don't know. The owner appears to have chopped the GM's nuts off and put them in a jar, and has publicly announced that everyone is answering to the owner, not the GM.
Well,
which could scare some coaching candidates away. Maybe not wanting to step into that kind of chaotic situation, but we'll see.
Immediately after the season's over, they're going to fire the GM, bring a new GM, and that's who's going to pick the coach.
Hopefully, yeah.
That's the way it's got to
go. Well, in this game, ultimately, despite the Broncos' performance, they were no match for Mahomes, who threw 3 touchdown passes,
mm-hmm.
Two of which went to my man from Marietta, Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah,
not a big deal where he's from.
Chiefs in the red zone.
Yeah,
it's some of the most beautiful stuff in football.
He did. Yeah, true. He did throw an end zone pick, did he not? Too. So that happened as well.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah, rolling to the left, rolling to his left. He throws that pick late to the outside. So they teach you. That's what they teach you. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I kind of thought Denver was going to win this game as I was watching it. They came out very feisty, like you said, and though they didn't have anything to play for as far as the playoffs are concerned, you could tell they were out there trying to put some spec on their names for sure.
When Russell scores that first rushing touchdown, they were turned up. They were turned up in the box, like I said. They were turned up on the field. He's like headbutting his linemen and all of that stuff. They were really out there trying to play.
You know, this is precisely the kind of performance you want to have at the end of a season like this, so that you can maybe try at least to end on a positive note. So well done, Broncos.
Yeah, good job.
The Chiefs win.
Who saw 4-12? Who saw 4-12?
No, nobody.
For that team. Oh, man, that's
no.
crazy.
The Chiefs win. Currently has them in the number 1 AFC spot. And obviously after this game was over, they were needing Buffalo to lose. Again, there's an extreme amount of confusion as to how this is going to play out. This is one of the things where the playoff seeding could be the most affected. Who gets that number 1 spot, depending on what they decide to do with that Bills-Bengals game. But at this point, we just don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know what they're going to do.
All right. Next up is the Patriots-Dolphins game. This was it's kind of like the tradition of playing in New England late in the season. And the tradition this year, a new tradition Miami started, is just quarterbacks dropping like flies. Teddy Bridgewater was playing okay. Then he makes his worst play of the game, throws an interception, pick 6. The reason the ball was picked off is because as he threw it, somebody hit his hand, and that was it for him. He was out of the game, even though he wears gloves. He was out of the game. And then Skylar Thompson came in, deer in headlights. It looked promising for a while, but that pick 6 turned out to be too much for the team to overcome. And they couldn't they scored, but it was too late.
So many things about that Teddy B pick 6.
I think that dude must not want to play, man. He's like, man, I came here to be the backup and make some money.
No, but I just feel like
I don't know.
The layers of insult on top of injury.
Yeah.
On top
and
of
then on top of injury, on top of insult.
On top of, I mean, you got a pick six. Yeah. Like, if it isn't enough that he throws a pick six, like you said, he supposedly broke his finger on the follow through.
Yeah.
And then he gets absolutely stiff armed into oblivion at the goal line, attempting to make a tackle. I mean, that stiff arm was filthy.
Yeah.
I mean, God.
I just slowly watched this was the only game this season where I was like, let me see what's going on in the red zone. Like, because they're getting, it's just so hard to watch because both teams looked very bad. It was like bad football all around. I was texting, I'm in this group chat, and somebody in the group chat is a Patriots fan, and he was like, I hope y'all win just to put us out of our misery. And I was like, I hope it's a tie. like neither team needed to, you know what I mean?
In an ideal world, you don't want a loss. You want to win.
Right.
But if you can't get the win, and sometimes you settle for the tie. A lot of football left to go in the season.
That's not completely.
There's only 1 week left, Lovey.
Lovey, come on, bro.
I mean, this was hard to watch because it really felt like a winnable game for the Dolphins.
Bowl, brought to you by Xlex.
But early on, it felt like a game that the Dolphins could win.
Yeah.
And it followed a similar script to some of the recent Dolphins games where, you start off strong, you're looking like you can manage this game, and then it all starts to unravel.
Another loss without I think every game that he hasn't played.
And the weird symmetry of that, like when a lot of people have been pointing out the Dolphins' records, it's like it starts off with 3 straight wins, 3 straight losses, 5 straight wins, 5 like the way the way the season has played out for you guys has been very bizarre.
I think it's Illuminati.
So the Patriots, because of this victory, slip into the number 7 spot, final playoff spot. They can clinch that spot with a win against the Bills this weekend.
Who might not even.
That game has been scheduled for 1:00.
I'm saying the Bills might not even put their.
Right, sure.
We'll see.
Right. But if they lose.
But it might be one of those win for Hamlin type of things, and they come out there and smack the shit out of the Patriots.
True. If the Patriots lose, they will need the Dolphins
to lose
to the Jets, and they will need the Steelers to lose to the Browns, as far as I know.
Oh, wow.
There's still a world where the Steelers can sneak in, too.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Then we got the Giants playing the Colts in one of the most lopsided games of the day.
Yeah, no slipping and sliding here. Get in here, New York Giants. Making the playoffs for the first time since 2016.
24 points in the second quarter.
And while we're asking the Giants to get in here, we might as well invite Jeff Saturday to get the fuck out. This dude is a joke, bro.
Yeah, man.
The fact that he's a head coach is an embarrassment to like the extremely qualified individuals who have been out here busting their asses for a shot.
Yeah.
That guy just needs to fuck off. It's not his fault, but he needs to, you know what I mean? If somebody came to you, you would, you know what I mean?
Coach. If you come to me, I am completely unqualified. I'm just pretty good at Madden. I would be like, hey, I coach. Yeah, man. You know what? Bring in a timeout manager and bring in you know what I mean? I'll be lost, but I'll do it.
Yeah. Nick Foles was terrible.
Yes.
8 for 13.
Good pickup, guys.
8 for 13, 81 yards, 0 touchdowns, and a 56-yard pick 6 to Landon Collins. The Colts' run game was trash. The receiving game was trash. They didn't even pinch the bitch, as our buddy Jonathan Rollins would say. Danny Dimes, on the other hand, went 19 for 24, 177 yards, 2 touchdown passes, 1 to Richie James, who did a killer backflip celebration. That was awesome. He threw another one to Hodgins. But Danny Dimes also had him some Danny Wheels.
Always.
Running the rock 11 times.
He's like Trubisky 2.0, man. He's like a better version of Trubisky.
Yeah. they call him. Is he the? Yeah, they call him Vanilla Vic. His teammates call him Vanilla Vic.
Yeah, but come on.
He ain't no Michael Vick. Come on now.
Come on.
But he did. He had 11 rushes for 91 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, which I'm sure just absolutely just sent all Saquon Barkley fantasy managers like over the edge. But it was a total blowout. So honestly, congratulations to Giants fans out there for having, you've been waiting a minute to see your boys in the next postseason. Ever since that Super Bowl win, it's been a rough go. They sit in the number 6 spot, and they would play.
They're in, and for good.
They're in. They're clinched. They would play the Vikings if everything stays as is. So, and that's a winnable game.
Yeah, they could beat the Vikings.
I mean,
the Vikings peaked week 4.
I can't figure out the Vikings.
Everybody, who can figure out the Vikings? Everybody playing them.
Well, not everyone.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they have 11 wins, right? Or 10.
I'm talking about lately. Aren't they on a crazy streak of losses?
Well,
I guess they only lost 4 games, huh?
I've only lost 4 games.
Yeah. Oh, they just look bad.
But it's starting to feel like the recipe for how to beat the Vikings appears to be emerging.
Yeah.
So I don't expect a deep run for them. I think the Giants could definitely beat them.
Eagles Saints.
Yeah.
This ruined every parlay.
Yeah. This did not go according to plan. I thought for sure the Eagles would win this game.
Yeah.
But in all fairness, the Saints came to play.
They brought it.
The time of possession was probably the most bizarre thing in this game, especially early on. The Saints started the game with a 15-play, 75-yard touchdown drive, finished off by their Swiss Army knife, Taysom Hill, that ate nearly 9 minutes off the clock.
Yeah.
The Eagles followed up with a 3-and-out punt to end the first quarter, which wound up being the only 3 plays that they ran in the first quarter. That's insane.
Yeah, that is insane.
At the half, the Eagles only had 61 yards of total offense. By the end of the game, the Saints had won the time of possession by nearly 15 minutes.
God damn. That's got to be...
It's crazy. I never seen anything like it.
Talk about slowly draining the clock. Nice. That's some Madden shit.
Even still, despite that, the Eagles did get within 3 points late in this game.
Yep.
Which was just in time for the not so magical mustached magician to throw a pick 6 to Marshawn Lattimore. That was basically the dagger in this game. So yeah, shout out to the Saints D for basically winning them the ball game.
Is Dennis Allen their coach next year?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
There's so many crazy rumors about the Saints right now.
Yeah.
But it's hard to know.
Yeah. They got the players for a decent team, man. A good team.
They clearly need a real coach.
Yeah, they need a coach, man.
Despite the win, the Saints were eliminated by way of the Bucs winning, and the Eagles failed to clinch the NFC number 1 seed again. All the Eagles need to do next week is beat the Giants.
Yeah, but
I assume will be resting
Giants are probably going to
players.
rest him, yeah.
Or they could. They can also clinch it if the Cowboys lose to the Commanders. Who knows what the fuck is going on over there? Actually, I do know what's going on over there. They've benched Carson Wentz again.
What?
Go figure. We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But they have a surprise option at quarterback. Very interesting.
Michael Vick's coming out from behind the camera. from the studio. He's like, Jeff Saturday did it, man. I come out there, man. I'll do what I do, man.
No, they signed Matt Ryan off of the Colts practice squad. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was like, whoa, my God.
You actually thought I was telling you the truth.
Yeah, that sounded good, man.
Yeah, sure. He got that. He's the truth. He's the answer.
Speaking of the truth, the answer, the GOAT.
Exactly.
Tom Brady came out of his, he popped up like the Undertaker from laying down on the mat, pops up 432 yards, 3 touchdowns, 34 of 45. Jeez. Did Carolina run a vanilla defense or something?
It's funny because the game started. The Panthers really looked up for this game in the beginning, and they had the Bucks on the ropes, 21-10 in the third quarter. But
the fourth quarter.
Yeah, but that's pretty much when Tom Brady and Mike Evans decided to just take over this football game. Not to mention ruin my fantasy football weekend. I've probably mentioned on this podcast that I have a 4-person fantasy football league with my family.
Y'all get 700 points a week.
Usually, yeah, pretty much. And I was going up against Saga in the championship game, and she had Mike Evans and Austin Eckler.
Oh.
And between the two of them, I could have played everybody on my roster from the bench on up. If they would have allowed me to play like everyone, I still would have lost. Anyway.
Motherfucker had 207 yards.
Yeah, despite the early temper tantrums from Brady, who was really in a mood.
He's like, give me a tablet. Give me a tablet.
Yeah, by the time he even got a penalty for spiking the ball.
Finally, a few years ago that was a very common penalty, but now
he got a delay a game penalty for spiking the ball. He wanted a penalty called, and he was pissed, and he spiked it like a little bitch, and they threw a flag on him.
Good,
but as suggested, Brady, 34 for 45, 432 yards, 3 touchdowns, all of them to Evans, who had 10 catches for 207 yards in those 3 touchdowns. The longest was being a 63-yarder, and the other ones were like a 50-yarder and a 40. Like it was all deep shots.
Yeah.
Godwin had 120 yards.
Yeah, man.
Also, but no TDs, so clearly he's trash. Fuck that guy. I'm kidding. Darnold wasn't bad either, but honestly, it was the turnovers that started to plague the Panthers. He had a pick. Plus, I think they had the Panthers fumbled the ball 6 times in this game. They only lost the ball twice, but it's just, sloppy.
Can't win like that.
That allowed the Bucs to kind of get back into this game. The Bucs D also stepped up and choked out Carolina's run game completely. Deontay Foreman only had 35 yards rushing, and Chuba Hubbard only had 13. So that's been the weird thing about Carolina. Especially since Wilkes took over, all of a sudden the run game, Wilkes takes over, they trade McCaffrey, the run game explodes, and everyone's like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I feel like a lot of people weren't paying attention to the fact that it was it kind of almost happened like every other game.
Yep.
It was like run game explodes.
Oh shit.
Run game gets stopped. Run game explodes, gets stopped. Explode, stop, explode, stop. It's been almost exactly every other game for them. I don't know why, but whatever.
But he might have put enough on tape to get himself some interviews.
Sure. With this win, the Bucs clinched the very shitty NFC South because someone had to do it. They look as if they're likely to play the Cowboys in the first round, or the Eagles. If the Eagles slip, maybe they play the Eagles. I'm not sure. Nice. Carolina is officially eliminated from the playoffs.
Damn. Well, Carolina had hope at the end. Nobody would have thought that they would have had hope in Week 17. But that just also goes to how bad the division is. So,
yeah, I would actually argue that if they don't hire Steve Wilkes, Carolina might be one of the more attractive spots to land as a coach.
Oh, yeah, good point. I'm sure they're taking interviews. It's not like he got it in the bag.
Anyway, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. The Commanders just shit the bed against the Browns.
What's wrong with y'all?
Good question.
What's wrong with y'all?
Yeah, that's a good question. They had Deshaun Watson started waking up a little bit. He looked a little better. Like the cobwebs are shaking off and the rust, and maybe he got a massage. But the big story is Carson Wentz out there, man. They gave him a shot, and he took the gun and shot himself. He did a Plaxico. Shot himself right in the leg.
That is one of the funniest YouTube clips I've ever seen in my life.
What was that?
The guy who shoots himself in the leg. Have you seen that? It's some guy on YouTube where he's trying to pull his gun out and he shoots himself in the leg. He says basically, he's like, "Oh, I just shot myself in the leg." It's like, you idiot.
Have you seen the one where the guy is like, they're in the range, and he's like doing a demonstration for the people, and he looks like anybody who knows anything about handling a gun is like, this is wrong, and then the gun fires. And the kid is filming him. He's like, "Did you mean to do that?" He's like, "Yeah." And then he kind of puts the gun. He's freaked out. He's like scared out of his life because he just had the gun near his head. He's just like, pow, and he just he puts it down. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, the Commanders came into this game in the last playoff spot, needing to win in order to stay there.
Thanks to the tie from earlier.
Right. So they pulled out the big guns. They asked Taylor Heineke to take a seat.
Take a seat, Taylor.
Take a seat and learn something from Carson Wentz, who came in to show this young man how it's done. Going 16 for 26.
Yes, 16.
143 yards.
Okay.
0 touchdown passes and
That's
one.
okay. You don't need it. You don't need a touchdown.
2, 3 motherfucking picks.
That's what you don't need, picks.
Yeah. Man, he was bad. And the game was very much within reach in the fourth quarter. Despite all of that, they were only down 17-10. I personally could not understand why they didn't bench Wentz and put Heineke back in there.
Yeah. I was surprised. I was like, okay, we'll see Heineke.
And the picks were bad. I mean, the picks were like,
what are you looking at?
The picks were like deep shot beach ball.
Yeah.
Just floating a balloon up into the air, like throwing up a punt, basically. All those turnovers made the job a whole lot easier for the Browns, obviously, which allowed the sexual predator to throw 3 touchdown passes on only 9 completions.
Receptions. Yeah.
On 9 completions.
Yeah.
Somehow Amari Cooper had 105 yards and 2 touchdowns with only 3 catches. My man, former Bulldog Nick Chubb, was the only one doing any hard work, carrying the rock sometimes for 104 yards, averaging over 7 yards per carry.
Man, he was running hard, man. We haven't seen that Chubb in a few weeks.
And I thought, I kind of thought the Browns were just going to lay down at the end of the season, but I was wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
Deshaun Watson, being the leader he is, has this team ready to go, man.
Mm-hmm. I mean, in a must-win game, you have to adjust. I actually did not agree with the switch to Wentz, but as I can understand it. I can understand why they did it to a certain degree. But in the middle of this game, as you're watching the shit swirl down to the bottom of the toilet, it's like, bro,
this
make
is bad
a switch.
Carson. This is bad Carson. Let's get him out of here.
Yeah. Because everything about Heineke tells you, exactly, and everything about Heineke tells you that if you inject this kid in, he'll give you a boost. Maybe he gets you that touchdown you need, and boom, you're in the ball game.
Yeah. McLaurin 2 catches for 25 yards.
Yeah, I have some more to say about this in the superlatives too. But so anyway, for now, the Commanders are officially eliminated from the playoffs.
Ron Rivera is going to be somebody's defensive coordinator if he continues to coach.
Yeah.
He can put together good defense.
I think the Browns were already eliminated, but now the Commanders are as well.
Sayonara, Ron.
Moving on to Jags-Texans. The Jags just a fucking beat down 31-3 of the Houston Texans. This game didn't mean anything to the Jags, but someone forgot to tell them because they came out and just dominated this game. All the starters were basically taking a nap in the fourth quarter. Doug Peterson said he wasn't going to sit his players, and they all started, but by the time the fourth quarter rolled around, he was like, "Well, they don't need to play now." Travis Etienne balled the fuck out. 9 carries, 108 yards.
Yes.
62 yards.
Smooth running, too.
He had that 62-yard touchdown blast was really nice.
Yeah.
He also had 60 yards receiving. Jermichael Hasty had a rushing touchdown. Some dude I never heard of called Snoop Connor had a rushing touchdown. Snoop. Not a nickname. Like his actual fucking name is Snoop. How great is that?
Sometimes your parents know that you're going to be a star.
Mm-hmm. The other touchdown was a defensive one following a Josh Allen sack where Tyson Campbell scooped it up and took it back to the house. There are so many things wrong with the Houston Texans. I don't even know where to begin.
That's another defensive coordinator that's going to be either coordinating or out of the game. I don't know. Maybe the NCAA ruined Lovey when he was coaching in Illinois for all those years.
Maybe.
Who knows, man? But he had been playing hard. They played hard, but you know what I mean? It was, no.
Well, regardless, the Texans have clinched the number 1 pick in the draft, which most certainly will lead to them selecting Alabama quarterback Bryce Young.
Don't do it.
Man, they need a lot more than that to turn this team around, to be honest. The Jags, like we said, are set up for a win-and-in scenario against the Titans Saturday night, prime time. And I know that my wife is a Titans fan, technically, but I got to say, I'm leaning Jags in this one.
Yeah, they're going to win.
I would rather see Trevor Lawrence in the playoffs than Joshua Dobbs or Malik Willis. Way more entertaining.
Then we got the Raiders-Niners. This was closer than anybody expected.
Mm-hmm.
Raiders came out
sort of like the coach fired, but like the benched quarterback revenge game. Right?
Yeah. Somebody in that group chat, somebody asked me that, like, because I was like, man, coach, I told about that theory. When the coach gets fired, the next game they play and they win normally. But he's like, does that go for quarterbacks too? I was like, sorry, it does not. But they tried.
Well, it depends on who your backup quarterback is.
They tried their best, man.
They did. Carr was benched for Stidham.
Stidham was looking good.
So we got the match that we've all been waiting for. Stidham versus Purdy. Let's go. There was actually a lot of chatter leading into this game that the Raiders players were quite pissed that the team kind of disrespected Carr by benching him and making it kind of seem like he was the main problem.
But it was a contract thing, right?
I think so, but I just think that, whatever, the social media chatter that leads into a game is what it is. But they played like they were pissed off. Although if they wanted to send a message, they would have lost or seemed shittier without Carr, but I don't know how that works. But they seemed better without Carr. It's only one game, but it is what it is. But it has to be said, you're right, Stidham, he carved up the 49ers secondary, which not a lot of people have done this year.
Yeah, but the thing that the Raiders wanted people to know is
you play to win the game.
So they played their butts off,
Adams was a freak. 7 receptions for 153 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Always
one of which was a 60-yarder. And that one catch where it got knocked into his hands as he was trying to haul it in. There was one where the DB was like reaching in to try to get it, and it actually deflected off of his arm into Devontae Adams' hand, and he still
talk about concentration, man.
That was sick.
And then Waller woke up.
That too, and honestly, that actually is the part where I feel like, whatever you say, what you want to say about the Raiders season this year, there's a lot of blame to go around, but they have not had hardly any games this year where they had everybody that they expected to have going into the season. Waller's been out for almost the entire season. Renfro has been gone the whole time. And this was one of the first games where you saw the receiving core was all there, and how this team.
Are you reading directly from Josh McDaniels' speech to the owners when he was in the principal's office?
I'm not giving him a pass because honestly, like the flip side of this, where I do put a lot of blame on the Raiders, is that I mean, nobody has blown more double-digit leads this year than the Raiders, or even historically, right? Didn't we figure that out? They've blown the most double-digit leads in NFL history in a single season. That ain't on the offense.
No, not at
all. So anyway, either way, again, I was very impressed by Brock Purdy, how he was able to kind of stay calm and composed throughout this game. I've been saying for a long time, like, sure, this kid looks good, but let's see what he looks like when he's really put under pressure. Let's see what he looks like if he has to play from behind. Let's see what he looks like when the game is on his shoulders and the Yak Bros aren't, giving him a 14-point lead to start. And I got to say, kid was legit.
Yep.
22 for 35, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have a pick. McCaffrey, obviously, Jesus Christ.
That dude is balling. As soon as he hit the ground running over there.
120 yards and 121 yards and a touchdown. Ayuk with over 100 yards and a touchdown.
That offense is looking scary. Defense normally looks scarier than it did this game, but I'm not worried about a little hiccup there.
No, in the end, the Raiders lost this game because the 49ers D made just enough stops. Some deep red zone type shit that forced field goals instead of touchdowns.
Yeah.
And they also got Stidham to throw 2 picks, the worst of which was the one that actually happened in overtime. And the 49ers returned it to the Raiders 3-yard line for a Robbie Gould chip shot game-winning field goal. So the D, they were put under more pressure in this game than any other game, but they did just enough to kind of pull it out. The Raiders are officially eliminated from the playoffs, and the 49ers are sitting in the number 2 spot, but could drop down to the 3. Either way, they appear locked and loaded and ready for the playoffs with Mr. Irrelevant running the show. Insane. Absolutely insane.
Shanahan, baby. Shanahan gets him right. And D'Amico Ryans on the other side, one of the hottest prospects.
Dude,
defensive
that guy's going to be a head coach somewhere.
Hopefully he can stay there, though. I kind of want him to stay there another year. I don't know. That's crazy, though, because they had a hot defensive coordinator 2 years ago. Like, Shanahan must be doing some great development over there. Because Robert Saleh is over there in New Jersey keeping receipts. And now D'Amico Ryan, like, I don't know, man. Wasn't Dan Quinn over there in that wasn't. No, he was under Dan Quinn. Because I was thinking about, never mind.
Yeah, he was under Dan Quinn.
All right, then we got, go ahead.
I don't know if Robert Saleh is keeping receipts, but he certainly needs to turn them in after this game. Right?
Seahawks came in and basically mollywopped the Jets. Mike White had the Mike White game we've been waiting on. Just looking, I mean, he put some yards up, but it was not looking. It's just bad. The first pick was like, what? Right? We just lobbed it up there, like,
yes. He threw two very bad, very much all his fault interceptions. Mike A. fucking White looked dreadful against what's supposed to be one of the worst defenses in the NFL.
That's what I was thinking. Like, have they redeemed themselves?
I think that I actually think that this Seahawks defense is a little like the Panthers run game.
Okay.
It feels like it's every other game it works, and every other game they get gashed. So, but the Jets couldn't do anything right. Nothing.
No.
Mike White was terrible. That first one, like you said, throwing a punt up into double coverage. I mean, that was ridiculous. He was missing dudes wide open. Yeah. There were a couple of shots where he had Garrett Wilson on what would have been just a runaway touchdown, and he just misses him.
Just missing him.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively. We couldn't make a first down. We couldn't run the ball.
Yeah.
That's
pretty much it.
The run game sucked too for the Jets. They only had 70 total yards. And if they were hoping that the defense was going to save the day, they were dead wrong, because Kenneth K9 Walker, first play from scrimmage, 60-yard freight train. Get the fuck out of my way. I mean, he ran all over a motherfucker's face. Dude had 23 carries for 133 yards. And Gino was out here writing some motherfuckers back, going 18 for 29, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, which is good because he had some real issues last week with that.
I like this Franklin Myers guy on the Jets line. And Quincy Williams too. I like the Jets, man. That's the defense is about to be popping, man. Next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And another team that, and if they can get that Breece Hall kid back from injury at running back,
they just need a quarterback, man.
It does kind of seem like that's all they need.
They get a quarterback over there, and the defense keeps playing like that. They got a pretty good receiving core. It'll be interesting to see what they're gonna do, man.
It does kind of seem like that's all they need.
They're like the Broncos last year. I feel about them like they're the Broncos last year.
Oh, so you think they need Russell Wilson then?
They just can't fuck up. I mean, it doesn't. Seeing Wilson play yesterday, it seemed like they needed the right system for the quarterback that comes in. So Saleh's got to look at that, man. And
That's a good point. That's a good point.
We got to get the right OC and the right quarterback combination. I got the defense. Let's get this right. Good luck to them, man. It's always fun when the if you have the NFL will get their collective cum shot if they get both New York teams being relevant at the same time.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun with that in the middle of the season. Yeah. So in a must-win, gotta-have-it game for the Jets, they could not have performed any worse in all phases of the game. This victory and the Commanders' loss allowed the Seahawks to slip into the final number 7 spot. Oddly enough, and I don't quite understand why, they do not control their destiny. The Packers are in the number 9 spot. And if they beat the number 8 Lions in Week 18, no matter whether the Seahawks win or lose, the Packers are in and the Seahawks are out. There's some kind of tiebreaker there that I don't understand.
Oh, maybe because that'll be a division win? Because that's one of the first tiebreakers is division records.
I don't know. I looked at it and I don't know. I couldn't figure it out. But for whatever, I just know that
the Rams is one of the Seahawks' losses.
Maybe.
That's got to be it. It's got to be division. All right.
Maybe.
Well, we'll see. I got a feeling that the Packers are going to lose. But speaking of the Packers, let's just get right into it, man. They stomped the mud hole into the Vikings.
Yeah.
And Aaron Rodgers didn't need to do much. I know they're going to act like he just brought the team. Oh, he just carried the team. But the Vikings were just giving the game away, man. Kirk Cousins was not liking that.
You know, it looked, the Vikings blocked a punt and early in the game that they were only able to manage a field goal from, because the Packers defense played fantastic in this game.
Yeah. For the past, 3 weeks?
It's true. They've become the defense that they have become the defense that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year. There was a lot of chatter about how they were going to have a great defense, but it really hasn't showed up until the last couple of weeks. So what looked like a game that was kind of going in the Vikings' direction early, block punt, a lot of momentum, you're feeling yourself, you kick the field goal, and then they kick off after the field goal, and Keyshawn Nixon, 105-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. I mean, this guy just exploded. And then on the very next drive, Darnell Savage, pick 6 for the Packers. Yeah. Another Cousins pick that led to a Packers touchdown. So it's like,
I think Cousins was trying to recreate the magic of coming back against the Colts. But this wasn't the Colts.
I mean, it really unraveled quickly. Like before you blinked, and all of a sudden it was 27-3. And if anyone was really hoping for a magical second half comeback from the Vikings, they were sorely mistaken because it just went from bad to worse as their second half drive ended in a fumble, and their first second half drive ended in a fumble, and then the second one ended with Cousins' third interception of the day. Cousins finished the day 18 for 31, 205 yards, a touchdown, and 3 picks. Dalvin Cook only had 27 yards rushing. Justin Jefferson attempting to break Calvin Johnson's single-season receiving record.
It's harder than it looks.
5 targets, 1 reception, 15 yards.
He was bitching on the sidelines, too.
Oh, man, Jair Alexander got under that dude's skin big time.
I like it when cornerbacks win those things, man. I showed you that thing, what's it called? I forget what it's called, man. But I showed you that where they have these battles between receivers and
that was awesome.
And defensive backs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really fun to watch. But I always root for the cornerbacks in it because it's such an advantage for wide receivers.
I mean, these last few weeks for the Packers have been insane. They have needed so many teams. Yeah. Well, I mean, they needed to win out, and they needed all of these other things to happen, teams to lose, and somehow it's all happened.
They're doing their part, man.
And like I said, they appear to have a very simple win and end scenario for Week 18. Beat the Lions, and you're in the playoffs, Packers. So
do that.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we got the another ass whooping. The Chargers beat the Rams, who are just limping their way out of this whole thing. Got all
Whose house? Chargers house.
Yeah. In the battle for Los Angeles, the worst fan base in the NFL.
I heard somebody. It's funny. I heard somebody else say this I saw a tweet or something, and it was like, okay, when the Chargers play the Rams, like, whose fans don't show up? I liked your answer better, that it would be like a London game. Like, everybody would just come dressed in all these other jerseys. That makes so much more sense to me.
Lawrence Taylor jersey on.
yeah, exactly. No clinching scenarios to talk about here. The Chargers had already
Except for
clinched.
Me clenching my ass cheeks.
The Chargers had already clinched, and the Rams had already booked their summer vacation.
Mm-hmm.
But that did not stop the Chargers from coming out and laying some wood on these Rams. Both running backs, actually, it must be said, were quite good.
Yes. Cam Akers out here trying to get a contract.
Cam Akers for the Rams is out here trying to play for the respect and for the contract. He had 123 yards on 19 carries. Austin Eckler nearly matched that, 122 yards, but with only 10 carries. While making 2 house calls along the way. Dude was averaging 12 yards per carry. One of his touchdowns was a 72-yarder. The dude was...
He's balling, man.
Was explosive. He was so good. Herbert looked great. And I don't mean like physically attractive. We all know that he's a handsome
You got
person,
such a crush on this guy, man.
He was also good at quarterback, 21 for 28, 212 yards, 2 touchdown passes. Mike Williams, are you kidding me with that one-handed catch? Woo!
Man, that dude, man. I'm talking about Herbert's got. They have such a good receiving core for him. It's just what a young quarterback needs. You got the guys can get up, get across.
There have been better one-handed catches this season, but that one-handed catch was the sexiest one-handed catch all season, because the way he goes up with the one hand, he's got his toes planted, but he's also twirling around almost like a ballerina.
Yeah, and he
in
just
the process.
He must have gigantic hands.
I mean, that was the sexiest one-handed catch I've seen all year.
Yeah, he's great. It's fun to watch.
I was sick.
And Baker's out here auditioning. Didn't do too much for his audition.
Nope.
And then we got the Ravens and the Steelers upset that I predicted. Even though I didn't mention this, but you're winning by 10 points and flipping pick 'em.
Oh, really? I didn't realize.
But this was the Kenny Pickett game, man. He looked ready, man.
He did it again.
I was like, they got their guy. I really said that as I watched it. He's the guy. He's going to get better. They're going to keep developing him. They got him. It's good for them.
It's 2 weeks in a row where they needed him to make a drive at the end of the game, and he delivered. He did
that scramble too, and it's just like I got y'all. It was good.
Mm-hmm. He was very good. My only complaint is that he doesn't throw the ball much to George Pickens, which is a little troubling.
They get that.
But their pass game was ridiculous. This was a predictable, very low stat line type of game for both teams. But they did what they had to do, and this fucking Mike Tomlin, man. I mean,
how can you not root for this dude, man?
He's so.
Never say never, but never.
Gonna have a losing record.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. I mean, he got to win one more game, but we thought for sure this would be the first season that he had a losing record, especially with Trubisky out there trying his best to take victories away from him. And he sat Trubisky and kind of righted the ship. And somehow, man, they got one of the top defenses in the league again, just flying around with Fitzpatrick at the helm. Just great, man. I mean, it doesn't hurt that the Ravens don't have their starting quarterback out there. Huntley's doing his best, but it's just not good enough. That last pick, I knew it was coming. I was like, he's going to throw it downfield and throw an interception, and he did. Game over.
So for the Steelers, their clinching scenario, they can clinch a playoff spot with a win versus the Browns, but they also need the Dolphins to lose to the Jets.
It's very possible.
And they need the Patriots to lose to the Bills.
Oh, damn. Well, that's a possible. Both of those things can happen.
Sure.
The Bills might be sitting people.
It's so hard to know.
Yeah, you never know.
It's hard to know.
If they get a forfeit this game, which might happen too, then I could see the Bills playing their players.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's we're there, so let's move into it. Bills Bengals Monday Night Football postponed with so for those of you who are living under a rock,
it's been on every news outlet. Leading story.
With nearly 6 minutes to play in the first quarter, Bills safety Demar Hamlin had a very seriously scary medical event after attempting to tackle T. Higgins.
He makes the tackle, routine thing, right?
It really didn't seem weird. I've seen it. Okay. It does not look. It didn't seem. I mean, I remember a tackle or a failed tackle actually. I think Cordarrelle Patterson won Angry Runs with this run where he lowered his helmet and hit a guy in the chest, and like he went flying back. He hit that guy so hard he flew backwards like he was in a bad spaghetti western movie or something. You know what I mean? Like I've seen way more fucked up hits than this one. This one seems so routine. He steps in. Hamlin steps up to tackle him, and T. Higgins kind of leans in to it. So Higgins sort of lands at Hamlin's chest with his not even straight on with his helmet. It's like a combination of his helmet and his shoulder pad. And both guys popped up, looked totally fine. And then Hamlin lost consciousness and just fell backwards and hit the ground.
Does he land? How does he land? Like on his just a regular fall too? Like his back?
He lands on his back.
Okay. I saw that some player tweeted to stop sharing the video, and I haven't seen. So I've never seen it. The game's not even up on Game Pass. 'Cause I woke up my normal routine: wake up, watch the Monday game. You know what I mean? Prepare for this podcast. You know what I mean? And I couldn't find it. I was like, "Why is this not even come? I can't even see." And then I saw like leading news was a player, but I thought that happened, and then the game continued, and then I saw that the game was postponed.
I saw it on CNN. for anybody that wants to see it. And it's not even, it's really only when you have the context.
Mm-hmm. He had a heart attack, basically.
Yeah, after the fact. It's not, he just kind of falls to the ground. And honestly, like, you know, it's kind of, everything played out the way that you would imagine it would play out. Like, you know, he goes down. The broadcast says, "Oh, Bills have a player down, so we're going to cut to commercial and we'll come back," and all that kind of stuff. And then they come back from commercial, and every minute that passed made it very clear that this was not a normal NFL type injury situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the images of them surrounding everybody in there.
Yep.
Even though I want to throw up every time I see a prayer circle, but they do that. All the players take a knee and all of that, as if there's some type of divine intervention. But whatever, leave my cynicism aside. They do that.
I know. I have issues with that too, but it's like you can kind of understand it in a sense where it's like everybody just feels desperate.
Yeah.
Hamlin was.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say this the way I saw it was on Instagram. The comedian Earthquake shares this image of them kneeled around him or whatever, and says, "I won't show the video out of respect for the family." So I thought it was going to be something graphic, and then I hear later that he just collapsed. So,
well,
I don't know.
The reason why is obviously fans of European soccer will remember in the European Championships, player from Denmark, Christian Eriksen, had a similar. It was different because it didn't come from an impact. He just had a cardiac arrest in the middle of the game.
Okay.
And the players formed a circle around him, essentially because after Hamlin collapsed and remained unresponsive, at first they tried to put him on a stretcher, and then they opted to sort of press pause on that and just start giving him CPR right there on the field.
Oh shit!
And
they had to use a defibrillator too, right?
They sure did. And I'm pretty sure that process went on for about 9 or 10 minutes.
Shit.
So that's why they weren't showing close-ups of what was going on, because it's obviously a very disturbing thing to see.
Yeah.
And honestly, what made it even scarier was the fact that you didn't see it, because when they cut to shots of Diggs and Josh Allen, like, you could see the looks on their faces, like, oh fuck,
oh my God,
there's a guy on the field who might be dying right now.
Oh my God.
The players were freaking out. Everyone was in tears. They were hugging and consoling one another.
Both teams, like.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And there were guys, when something like this happens too, one of the amazing things that comes afterwards is, you start to learn a lot about the player, but you also start to get this realization, there's a whole web of connections within the NFL world, just like there is in any industry. And it was kind of like interesting to hear, like, Mike Tomlin knew this kid since he was like 12 years old. Brandon Staley recruited him in high school when he was like 15 years old. Obviously, he played with Kenny Pickett at Pitt University. There was a guy on the Bills team who has known Demar Hamlin since they were teenagers, like since they went to high school together. You start to realize, like, man, here's a player that doesn't get talked about very often. But a lot of people know who this kid is, and they've been rooting for this kid for a long time. Anyway, ultimately Hamlin was taken away in an ambulance. Sean McDermott and Zach Taylor came together and wisely decided that the right thing to do was to press pause on this game. There's a lot of debate as to, I don't even really know. There's a lot of uproar considering the fact that it appears that the NFL was prepared to resume this game. And it kind of looks like the coaches were the ones who basically said, not happening. The NFL Vice President Troy Vincent later came out and denied that they were going to resume the game.
Isn't he the Players Association vice president?
No.
He used to be the head of the. Was he the head of the union, and now he's a vice president of the league?
Maybe.
He used to be head of the union. Wow.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that the more that he clutched his pearls and the more angry he got, the more it felt like he was lying.
Of course, he's lying.
And even when he doesn't have to,
all right,
like, because
exactly.
In all honesty, and everyone agrees, this was an extremely unprecedented situation. Nothing like this has ever happened before. So it's like,
right.
He got very ornery about it, you could say, because on the CBS broadcast they said, we're hearing word from the NFL that the players are going to get a 5-minute warm-up period and then they're going to resume the game, and Troy Vincent, he was pissed about that after the fact. He was like, I don't know where they got that from. Where could they possibly have learned that? I never said that. It's like, oh, Jesus, calm down.
Relax. It's understandable. Well, I'll talk about it. I got it in my superlatives anyway.
Yeah. The reality is that we don't know what's going to happen to this kid. So far, the reports are pretty positive. He's still on. He's still in the ICU. He's still considered to be in critical condition. His vital signs are improving. Apparently, they're reducing the level of oxygen on the life support machine, and he's doing okay there. So he's getting better, it seems like. But it's, players say this every week, like, hey, we go out there and we put our bodies on the line. And after something like this, it's like, it really kind of like makes you realize that that's really, yeah, sure, you put your body on the line as far as like a normal like knee or head injury or something like that. Right. No one expects to go out onto that field and maybe lose their life. In fact, as far as I know, this has only happened once in the NFL. Back in the 70s, there was a Detroit Lions player who had a heart attack in a game.
Okay.
And that wasn't even from a hit. And that wasn't even from a hit.
Well, back then it was probably steroids when it was rampant. You know what I mean?
It could have been.
But this one is obviously vaccine related. So
that came up somehow. I was like, where is that coming from?
It's these anti-vaxxers, man. They looking for any reason to say somebody.
But was he one of those players who didn't want to take the vaccine?
No, I think he did get vaccinated, and they're saying that he got the jab.
Okay.
He's fucking anti-vaxxers, man.
I saw that was included in some of the early stories, and I was like, why is this in here?
Because people need it. Everybody's got an agenda, Skiff. That's why.
This seems ridiculous.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something we'll keep an eye on. And we can get our superlatives out of the way.
Yeah.
I got a real MVP.
Go for it.
Carson Wentz, man. No, I'm just kidding. Real MVP is I thought it was the players, but I guess it's the coaches. But the Bills and Bengals is the real MVP. ESPN reported that NFL wanted to resume the game after the collapse of Demar Hamlin, but the players declined to go back out there and play. NFL is now saying, of course, that they never intended to resume the game, which I'm pretty sure is utter bullshit. I don't, however, blame the NFL for wanting to continue. They probably treated this like a normal injury. They've continued games after a player was carted off with spinal injuries or neck injuries. If you remember Ryan Shazier not too long ago. Broke his spine, had to learn how to walk later, but that game continued. The one guy, Denny, whatever his name was, I forget his name, but he played for the Jets, broke his neck on the field, and they continued after that. So I get it. But the players, coaches to stand up against the machine and say, this is bigger than football means a lot. We put a lot of things into perspective for the league, the players, and the fans. I'm pretty sure not one person left the game feeling cheated or like they want their money back. The Bills and Bengals players and coaches put their heart into the game that's way too consumed with corporate bullshit. So they're them collectively.
You the real MVP.
Yeah, it seems that Skip Bayless was the only one who felt cheated.
Ooh, forgot about that. Who's your MVP?
I'm going to go with the men and women who we all obviously are hoping saved Demar Hamlin's life. This is an emergency medical response team that is present at every NFL football game. Mm-hmm. They train for the worst case scenarios like this once a year before the season starts.
Did you do you listen to NPR?
Yeah.
I heard a thing about this. They talked to a former Ravens medical staff. He talked about this. Well, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But normally we only see them when there's, like a particularly bad head injury or a neck type situation or something like that. Most times dudes get they get hurt and they go off on the cart. When we do see them go off in an ambulance, it's generally not a life-altering situation as bad as this. But I could not stop thinking about the fact that these men and women rolled out onto the field in prime time, underneath the lights, with 70 to 80,000 fans in the stadium, millions of people watching at home, and two football teams hovering over them, knowing that Demar Hamlin was going to die if they didn't do their jobs quickly and properly. 9 minutes, 10 minutes of CPR, plus needing to turn to the defibrillator to get this man's heart beating. Every second of those 9 to 10 minutes must have felt like an hour. Yeah. And then trying to get him off to the hospital as quickly as possible because every second counts. Making only one brief stop to allow Demar Hamlin's mother, who was at the game, to jump into the ambulance and ride off to the hospital with her son. I mean,
yeah, wow.
I feel like all the Bills and Bengals fans who drove straight to the hospital to conduct this candlelight vigil outside the hospital also deserve an honorable mention. Just a real show of heart from them, and also a very much honorable mention to Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott, who put their heads and their hearts in the right place. I saw this interview with Zach Taylor this morning, actually, and he's like, I'm not going to tell you everything that we said in that conversation, but I will tell you that because when they came back out of the locker room and it looked like people were starting to warm up, Zach Taylor just walked over to the other side to Sean McDermott, and he just said, according to Zach Taylor's interview, he said, what's going on? And McDermott said, I shouldn't be coaching this football game. I should be at the hospital. And that was it.
Wow.
Wow. I personally think that Zach Taylor and Sean McDermott are the ones who stopped this football game.
Yeah. That's what happened.
Yeah. And I just think all of those people, the coaches, the fans showing all that heart, and that medical crew that everybody, fingers crossed, is hoping saved his life. Those are my real MVPs for the week.
You the real MVP.
Yeah, man. It sucks to go from this to trash.
I know, we probably should have reversed it. Oh.
Trash of the week, Carson Wentz. It's probably your trash, too. We had the same MVP theme. I think we got the same exact trash. We talked about the risk reward, the ceiling being higher. So go with Wentz to try to get you in the playoffs. And Ron Rivera rolled the dice and landed on whatever the worst thing, and I don't know much about dice, but the worst thing that could have happened was to have Carson Wentz start a football game and throw 3 interceptions and just look horrible the entire game. They played him out the entire game as well. Didn't even let Heineke come in and show how it's done. So we got to see the full extent of the trash of Carson Wentz, and this can't even be an audition for another team. It probably was the end of him starting the football game at the very least. And if he comes back out it'll probably be taboos on some other franchise. But for this week, Carson Wentz.
You are trash!
Yeah, we are in the same category. I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders as a whole in a gotta have it.
Yeah.
Must win game. You go out and get bounced
against
from
a
the
team,
playoffs
a beatable team too,
by the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Plus, all the reports going into the week suggest that other players were not very happy about the switch to Wentz.
I'm sure McLaurin wasn't.
Certainly not. All the problems and reasons why you benched him in the first place, they were clearly still there. Taylor Heineke is no world beater, but he certainly unlocked Terry McLaurin, and he made Curtis Samuel look better. He was kind of finding his rhythm with Jahan Dotson when he came back from injury too. Everyone could see in this game that Wentz was not the guy, and you had plenty of time to switch.
Yeah.
When you were only down by a touchdown. And not only that, I don't know if you saw this in the postgame, it appears that Ron Rivera didn't actually know that it was possible for the Commanders to be eliminated in Week 17.
So
all that needed to happen was that if the Commanders lost and the Packers won, the Commanders were eliminated.
There's so many people that can be head coaches, man.
A reporter asked Ron Rivera in the postgame interview, because, at that point the Commanders had lost, but the Packers game hadn't started yet. And they were like, oh, next week, who are you going to play at quarterback if the Packers win and you guys are eliminated? And Rivera was like, what? We could be eliminated?
I'm sorry, I'm done.
How do you not know that?
And that's what pisses me off.
And it kind of makes me think that if Ron Rivera, if he was aware that they were up against the wall like that, he's definitely going to switch to Heineke in the second half. But that didn't happen.
I'm going to speak my mind for a second.
Because this team and this organization are an absolute dumpster fire of enormous trash.
Yes, I thought he was the. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm
done.
All this stuff, man.
I'm done. That was it. I would say it. Go. Pile on the trash. That's what you do with trash, right? You throw trash on top of trash.
Exactly. I can't even find the "You Are Trash" button. I'm losing my mind.
You are trash!
It's so much that you can't even pick the thing that's the trashiest about them. Shit got learned. For me, man, fans get it. I don't know why. I just thought I look at fans sometimes like hooligans, but fans get it, and this showed a lot. Except for Skip Bayless, I haven't seen anyone else that was just like, show must go on type of stuff. They were just like, whoa, you know what? There's more to it. There's people behind these jerseys and under these helmets.
There is this one other guy, I don't remember his name, but he's an ESPN guy who is kind of sort of blaming T. Higgins, which has led to some shit where I'm like, man, everyone tells that guy to shut the fuck up. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Now I'm stepping on your shit.
No, that was the thing, though. I just wanted to say that the fans get it. That was the thing I learned, is that, like, despite it all, they understand the human part of this game. That sometimes I forget that fans are in tune with that as well. So that's what I learned this week. What you got?
That's a good one. I learned that as much as you want to believe it, not all wins are created equal.
Yep.
And I'm looking at you, Dallas Cowboys. They were victorious on Thursday night after playing a game riddled with mistakes and giveaways.
Yeah.
After the game, they dipped into their barrel of eternal blind optimism, reached to the bottom of that Salvation Army kettle for a phrase commonly heard throughout the decades in the world of sports, which is, hey, a win is a win.
A win.
Now, I get that they are caught up in the roller coaster of emotions that comes with, trying to catch the Eagles for that number one overall seed. And while a win is a win might technically be true, I would argue that despite your self-proclamation as, America's team, this mentality is precisely why you always bomb out of the playoffs, both early and often. You're 3-10 in the postseason in the last 25 years. You've been to the NFC Championship game let's see. Last time you were there, 1995 was the last time you went to the NFC Championship game. Dak, you personally are 1-4 in the playoffs. This performance against the depleted Titans team, who were resting players, may have produced the W. But in about 2 weeks, when the Cowboys play a real football team with all their guys on the field in a winner moves on, loser goes home scenario, this shit will most likely end how it always ends for the Cowboys, with yet another predictably early round postseason L.
I like it. A win is not a win. Scariest AFC team. Kind of want to put that on ice a little bit, but for now, because of the situation, I have to say the Chiefs. But we don't know, man. It could be the Bengals. It could be the Bills. We'll see how they come out of this. What you got?
Yeah, in football terms, I guess it's the Chiefs. In life, I mean, the Bills are the team that's scaring me the most right now because I'm so afraid this kid is going to fucking die. Like, I'm just like, I've been really emotional this week.
It's been positive news, though. There's been positive stuff coming.
It has, but it's been earth-shattering. I've found myself kind of in tears or close to tears on numerous occasions this week thinking about this kid.
Yeah.
But yeah, from a football perspective, I guess the Chiefs. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Things seem really weird over there in the AFC right now.
Yeah. Speaking of weird, the NFC, I wrote who fucking knows. That's what's talking about. Something I don't know, man. It's been the Eagles pretty much all year. Even preseason, I predicted them to go to the Super Bowl. Who fucking knows, man? The NFC is like sometimes the Lions look like scary. Sometimes the Cowboys look scary. Sometimes the Eagles look scary. The Eagles, because it's been without Hurts at the helm, I'm going to go with the Eagles, but that's the only reason. Oh, yeah, and then the 49ers, actually. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm going to go 49ers. I know they nearly dropped this game to the Raiders.
Yeah, exactly.
And this was likely their worst defensive performance of the year, but the fact that they figured out a way to win, that's what great teams do.
Against a team that always figures out how to lose.
Also, yeah, very good point.
Oh, well, you just talked about how all wins are created equal.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, then we got put some spec on. You got anybody that you want to put some spec on their name?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Green Bay Packers cornerback Jair Alexander.
Ooh.
He was going to be my MVP until that Demar Hamlin stuff happened. So I switched him to put some spec on my name. I feel like it kind of fits. For talking mad trash about Justin Jefferson, saying that Jefferson's week 1 performance against the Packers, where he had 9 receptions, 184 yards, and 2 touchdowns, was a fluke. And then, I mean, he gives them all that poster board material, and then he goes out there and backs it up, holds Jefferson to 1 reception for 15 yards, while also hitting him with the gritty.
Yes.
For good measure.
Yes.
And causing Jefferson to get so pissed off, he like ripped his helmet. Jefferson almost hit a referee with his helmet accidentally.
Yeah.
But he ripped his helmet off and like tried to throw it down and just barely missed hitting a referee in the back with his helmet. Jair Alexander was all up in Jefferson's feelings. Yeah. And I was really impressed. And he was also very respectful after the game. He's like, look, I'm not saying that Justin Jefferson isn't a great wide receiver. All I'm trying to say is that I'm a great fucking cornerback. I was like, man, put some respect on that man's name.
All right, then I got Kenny Pickett, man. I feel like there's doubters and stuff. It's not the craziest stat line with 15 for 27, 168 yards. It's not that beautiful, but you could see as he was playing, that offense believes in him. That whole team believes in him. Mike Tomlin over there pumped on the side. He's running, scrambling, trying to get some yards, throwing the ball, keeping it from getting intercepted like his predecessor would do on a regular basis, and Mitch Trubisky, and beaten in a high-intensity playoff game, game with playoff implications, I should say, against a division rival, came through and did what he had to do. I got to say Kenny Pickett is telling people,
put some respect on my name.
It's a good one.
Yeah, man. Well, this has been an interesting episode of SveNFL. It's hard to like end on a good note or whatever. But I got some good news for the second episode that we're gonna have to do now because that's how it is. Your boy's moving, So let's wrap this thing up, man. That's the end of this episode of SveNFL. We'll be back very soon, like in an hour or two, for those of you that want to check it out right away. But this has been Jonathan Rollins.
Give me Zara.
With another episode of SveNFL. We'll catch y'all soon. Thanks for checking it out. Peace.
Lady-o.